Sorry about that. Mr. Chairman, thank you for convening this hearing. I would like to start by noting that we have one person from the Reagan Institute who wants a increase in the defense budget. Another witness was saying, well, we want more money, not calling for an increase specifically, and only one really witness who is calling for a decrease. So I hope for future hearings that we will have a greater diversity.
Yield for just one moment.
Sure.
Sorry, well, just for the record, that was not our intent. Okay. This played out a little bit differently than I expected it to.
I mean, of course.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're pausing your time. I'll just get through this. I can't exactly say how that played out, but it was not our expectation. Our expectation actually was to have one person who said we could reduce it, one person said we increase it, and one person to defend President Biden's budget. We had a heck of a time finding anyone to defend President Biden's budget, just as you would have had a heck of a time finding anyone to defend President Trump's budget. Nobody I've been through 4 presidents in 25 years. Nobody ever supports the budget that you actually have to write down. Okay? We could all theoretically talk about this, that, and the other stuff, but if you're the unfortunate soul who has to actually put it in writing, we've done this back and forth. Nobody has ever defended any president's budget. So for the new Republicans on the committee, you think, oh, see, that proves that Biden's budget is terrible. No, it proves that every single president's budget, because it actually has to be written down, it has to add up, you have to have the details, you don't have all of that comfortable gray space to play around in, gets more difficult. So it was our hope to have this be more balanced, and I do apologize to the committee for not having achieved that. But it was not our intent for this to play out the way it did. But that's why we've got you, Ro. you can carry all the weight on the other side right now. So we'll restart your time.
Chairman, I have great respect. I have great respect for your integrity and your leadership, and I certainly don't want to imply that you or the staff would not have a balanced hearing. That was not my intent. My intent is just that somehow we don't agree on the president's budgets, but the defense budget keeps going up and up and up. It's sort of like the law of gravity, an immutable rule in Washington, other than when President Clinton was there and President Bush Sr. And I do think there are many organizations who are about strategic ways of reducing the defense while maintaining a strong national security. But let me begin with Mr. Zackheim. Mr. Zackheim, I appreciate your testimony. I read your statement very carefully. What was President Reagan's budget inflation adjusted at the peak of the Cold War for defense?
Well, what I have here in my notes is in 1985, it was about 5.7% of GDP. That's the best I can answer you now.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
It was 610 billion inflation adjusted. That would be about 110 billion. And one of the things, I disagree very strongly with President Reagan, but one of the things I often say is that he confronted challenges that were unprecedented with the Cold War and had a huge challenge in national security. Do you really believe that we have more national security challenges today than President Reagan confronted in 1985?
I do, sir, and here's why. The challenge with the Soviet Union, best I can understand, was fundamentally a military challenge. We have a similar military challenge facing the Chinese Communist Party. But what the Chinese Communist Party has that the Soviet Union does not have or did not have is this overwhelming economy that is rivaling and will potentially outpace the U.S. economy. So they have the combination of economic power and military power that the Soviet Union did not possess. In fact, as you know,
all right.
Go ahead, sir.
Let me I don't want to cut you off because I have time and I would love to engage in the conversation more broadly. I disagree that China poses a more serious military threat than the Soviet Union did in the 1980s. I think George Shultz would disagree. Unfortunately, he's passed with that. Economically, I agree with you, but I think to think that China either is spending as much militarily as the Soviet Union was or poses a greater threat with than what the Soviet Union did, I think is to underestimate actually what President Reagan confronted. But it's a longer conversation. I just do want to point out that the budget is about 110 billion more than it was at the peak and height of the Cold War. And, I want to turn to Miss Mandy Smithberger because you've done a lot of work. You were helpful with our TransDime hearing where we had a company that was basically ripping off taxpayers in a bipartisan way with the chairman's leadership, with at the time Representative Meadows and Representative Jordan's leadership. We got them to pay back $16 million to the U.S. government because they were monopolizing industry parts and then charging 1,000% more to the American taxpayers. Could you talk about the defense contractors? People often say, where can we cut? And I agree. Look, there are people on the committee who disagree with my view on not needing to modernize nuclear weapons. But could you talk about the place where we can cut, which is the defense contractors? The CEOs there make $20 million a year. They're not the ones wearing the uniform, risking their lives. It's like, reminds me of All My Sons, the Arthur Miller novel. The people who are making the money aren't the ones risking their lives. There are a lot of members on this committee, honorable members, who risk their lives. I have tremendous admiration for them. But the defense contractors making $20 million a year, CEOs, average executive, $5 million a year, why can't we cut that? It's outrageous. And how much would we save?
So we could save tens of billions of dollars if we reduced our reliance on what we refer to as the shadow workforce or service contractors. And I think if we had a goal of trying to acquire systems that are less complex, that are easier to maintain so that our own personnel can maintain them, that we would be both more lethal and more effective as a consequence. And in the TransDime instance, I would say that we really do need to strengthen our acquisition laws so that taxpayers don't continue to get ripped off, that we want to make sure that when something is considered a commercial item that is truly commercial, that is sold in like quantities on the market, in too many instances, suddenly something is characterized as commercial, and then the price goes up 100%, and we're not able to challenge that information to make sure that we are paying a fair price. These are small things that add up, and these are not areas that we should be wasting money.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.